We all agreed. You're not part of the wedding party, my brother said as he handed me a flimsy paper plate just outside the tent. His voice was calm, almost cold, like he thought he was doing me a kindness by dropping the act. Then came the punch to the gut. His new father-in-law, a guy I'd only met once in my life, let out a chuckle and said, "Real family eats under roofs." I looked down at the plate in my hand, cheap, trembling, like it understood it didn't belong here any more than I did. From inside the glowing white tent, laughter spilled out, bouncing off the string lights and rented decor. The smell of garlic butter drifted through the air, mingling with the clink of champagne glasses. But I wasn't welcome in there. Not even for dinner. My name wasn't on the seating chart, not at the head table, not with the cousins. Nowhere. I just stood there nodding like an idiot, barefoot in wet grass, holding a paper plate like I'd accidentally crashed someone else's wedding. And the worst part, I had chipped in for that tent. I had paid the deposit for the food. I'd sent Jason $6,200 through Venmo 6 months ago, back when he said he was coming up short on vendors. And now here I was, treated like an outsider, excluded like I was nothing. I reached out, voice low. "I'll take that back." Jason blinked. "What?" "The envelope." I motioned toward the small white card I had dropped in the gift box earlier. "That's not for you anymore." He stared confused, until I walked up and pulled it straight from the box, ignoring the sharp gasp from one of the bridesmaids. My handwriting stared back at me from the envelope. I opened it slowly, pulled out the check, and tore it in half, then in quarters, then eighths. Silence hit like a slap, that raw, heavy kind of silence that no one knows how to fix. "Financial ghosts don't bring gifts," I said, tossing the scraps into the trash. Jason looked at me like I just hit him. Maybe I had. They started begging. His fiance's mom whispered something to someone. My mom came rushing out from the tent, eyes wide like she'd just realized I still existed. I didn't say a word, just smiled, turned around, and walked away. Once I got home, I opened Venmo. The shared account still showed $6,200 unpaid, linked to me. A few taps and it was zeroed out. Then I blocked every number connected to that account. By morning, my phone looked like a war zone. 39 voicemails, 112 texts, and a single call from a number I hadn't seen in years, a number I thought was gone forever. That's when it hit me. This wasn't really about the wedding. It never was. They say weddings bring people closer. For us, it peeled the mask clean off. One tab caught my eye. Excluded guests. Right there, in cell B12, beside my name, someone had typed, "Doesn't match vibe. Possible wild card. Suggest excluding from central events. Keep outside main tent." I just stared at the screen, frozen. I helped them build that so-called vibe. But it didn't stop there. It got uglier. The next morning, a Facebook notification popped up. I'd been tagged. It was Rachel. She'd posted a photo from their engagement brunch. Jason was there, surrounded by the bridal party, both sets of parents, including mine, seated around a beautiful oak table. The caption? "Surrounded by those who matter most. Our core, our forever team." I wasn't in the picture. I wasn't even mentioned. Then someone, one of Rachel's cousins, commented, "Wasn't there another brother?" Or am I imagining that? Rachel replied, "You're not imagining. Let's just say some people support quietly, and some don't support at all." 19 people liked it. That night, I dug out the old laptop I'd helped Jason fix a couple years back. He'd never bothered to remove my remote access. Big mistake. Within 20 minutes, I was back inside. Emails, PDFs, shared folders, group chats with names like "Wedding a Team." There were photos, diagrams, screenshots. And then I saw it. A zipped folder called Plan B, Seating Adjustments. Inside, I found updated guest lists, table layouts, tent schematics, everything organized like a corporate rollout. And right next to my name, escort to lawn area, provide plate, no tent access, no reason, just that. Then I stumbled across a WhatsApp thread. Jason, Rachel, and their close friends were chatting. "He's just not photogenic. We love him, but he's got that off-brand energy. I feel kind of bad. He paid for half the cake. Should we let him help cut it?" Number, he's got sad uncle vibes. He'll ruin the aesthetic. And my personal favorite? Anyway, he's single and weird. What's he gonna do? Venmo us into submission? That was the moment I realized they hadn't just left me out. They used me. I wasn't a guest. I was a walking bank account. I didn't cry. I didn't scream. I made a list. Cancel pending transfers. Download every receipt. Back up all chats. Freeze the Venmo wedding fund. Reclaim control. Then came the voicemail. My father. His voice was brittle and sharp. You need to understand something. This family moves forward. If you're not part of the solution, you don't get to be in the pictures. I played it twice. Then I opened my notebook and wrote a single line. Financial ghosts don't bring gifts. I wasn't going to that wedding to clap politely. I was going to bury the fantasy. The ceremony was set for 3 p.m. I got there at 10:37. The venue already looked like a fairy tale lie. Eucalyptus garlands, rented lanterns, and a tent so tall it dwarfed the trees. A florist was wiring leaves to an arch I had paid for. A guy in black carried the cake I had funded. And in the back, a woman with a headset barked commands like she was directing a movie. Her name was Sophie, the planner. I walked right up to her. Hi, I'm the financial contact for roughly 60% of this event. We need to talk. She blinked. I handed her a folder. Invoices, receipts, and bank statements. All of them with the same name on top. Mine. She flipped through them without saying a word. Then I added, I'm retracting my authorization. This event no longer has my financial support. Any vendor working under a contract tied to me is now suspended. Her face went pale. You can't just... I can, I said, and I just did. Within 30 minutes, the sound system shut off. The lights dimmed and went cold. The cake was gently loaded back into the van. The caterers turned off their ovens. The DJ packed up and drove away. The $14,000 tent stood eerily quiet, like an empty stage after the final curtain. At 12:11 p.m., I entered through a side door. Wearing a black suit and carrying 3 gift-wrapped boxes, each white with silver ribbon, one for Jason, one for my parents, and one for the couple's table. What did you do? He spat, storming toward me. I secured my assets, I said coolly, and took back what was mine. You've lost your mind. You can't just show up and wreck everything. This isn't sabotage, I told him. It's clarity. You didn't invite me to your wedding? Just my money. So I came to retrieve it. He reached for one of the boxes. Don't, I warned. Open it at the altar. By then, people were starting to notice. The food was gone. The lights weren't working. The music had vanished. Rachel's voice echoed from inside the tent, shrill and cracking. Where's the cake? That's when I made my final move. I walked to the head table and placed the boxes down, one by one, on the crisp white linen. Then I turned to the gathering crowd of bewildered guests out in the field. I wasn't on the guest list, I said, so I figured I'd bring something that actually mattered. Closure. All eyes were on me. My mother's face twisted into a tight knot of fear and rage. My father looked like he was seconds away from throwing a punch. That's when I turned slightly and motioned to the man beside me. This is Michael Trent, licensed attorney. He's here to observe and present documentation. Daniel calmly opened his briefcase, pulled out a folder, and began reading aloud. As of this morning, all joint financial accounts involving Hero's full name and the following individuals, Jason's last name, Thomas's last name, and Elaine's last name, have been legally dissolved. Power of attorney is revoked, co-signing rights nullified. Any access to financial assets, property, or credit has been terminated. He paused, then continued. Also included is a civil notice regarding fraudulent use of identity in a credit application filed on date. Supporting evidence is attached. That last part hit them like a hammer. My father lurched forward, fury in his voice. You smug little user. I cut him off with a calm, oh? You mean this? I pulled out my phone, opened a video, and hit play. On screen, grainy security footage from a credit union lobby. There was my father, sliding a folder across the counter, my name and social security number clearly visible. He'd stolen my ID from an old file in my bedroom drawer, used it to co-sign a business loan I never even knew existed. A stunned gasp swept through the crowd like wildfire. Rachel dropped her bouquet. My mother whispered, "You don't know what you're doing." I looked her in the eye. "No, you didn't know who you were stealing from." Then I turned to Jason, who stood completely still, fist clenched, face drained of color. "You didn't invite me to your wedding," I said. "You invited my wallet, my work, my silence. I'm just RSVPing to all three." Suddenly, a spark of sound crackled through the tent, just a technician testing the speaker system. I stepped away from the scene, holding my phone up. As I walked, a voicemail started playing over the speaker, loud enough for every guest to hear. It was my father's voice. "You've made your choice. We'll do things without you. Just don't expect to show up later." I held the phone high and added, "I'm just following instructions." Then I walked away, calm, finished. Behind me, the wedding fell apart piece by piece. No music, no lighting, no catering, no illusion of a happy, united family. Just truth, delivered on time, in 3 perfectly wrapped white boxes. 5 weeks after the whole thing collapsed like a cheap firework, a certified letter arrived in my mailbox. Nothing flashy, just a plain government envelope, the kind most people ignore until it's too late. Inside were the words I'd been waiting for. "We have confirmed the fraudulent use of your identity in a financial application submitted by Thomas's last name, on date. The case is now being prosecuted. You are cleared of all co-liability." Just like that, my name was clean. And my father's? Not even close. The same man who used to smirk and say I'd never make it without him was now officially blacklisted by 2 banks under IRS investigation and the focus of a federal credit fraud case. His accounts frozen, his license as a financial advisor suspended, and the cherry on top? The judge approved my full withdrawal as co-signer on the loan. The debt? Now his and only his. The burden he tried to strap to my shoulders ended up crushing his own spine. But as always, when one liar falls, another one scrambles to grab a mask. A week after the court ruling, I got a voicemail from a blocked number. It was my father, his voice now shaky, unsure. "It wasn't just me. Your mother. She helped. She brought the documents. She knew." I didn't answer. Not because I didn't believe him, but because I already knew. That same afternoon, a small box arrived. No return address. Inside, a flash drive and a handwritten letter, in ink I instantly recognized from birthday cards long ago. It was from my uncle, my father's estranged brother. We hadn't spoken in years, but his message was simple. "I saw what you did. It wasn't just about the wedding. This has been planned for a long time." He ended with, "There's something you'll want to hear." It's on the drive. I plugged it in. On it was a recording, dated 2019. My father's voice, low and amused. "He's good for money. That's why we keep him close. We survive. Just don't let him think he's too important. If he ever catches on, we're screwed." Then came my mother's voice, calm and assured. "He won't. He always comes back. That's just how he's wired." I sat there for over an hour after hearing that. Not angry, not even hurt. Just done. Meanwhile, they were scrambling to pick up the pieces. Jason's wedding was never rescheduled. Rachel left him 2 weeks after the fallout. Her final Instagram story was a photo of her engagement ring sitting on a windowsill. The caption, "Turns out the diamond was fake, like the family." Jason tried to play it cool, posting gym selfies and half-hearted motivational quotes, but no one was buying it. The venue ended up suing Jason for breach of contract. 2 of the vendors filed charges over unpaid balances. Last I heard, he was holed up in a cramped studio above a vape shop, quietly blocking comments online like that would make it all disappear. Then a letter came from my mother. Not handwritten, not warm, just typed. Cold and distant. Not handwritten, not warm, just typed. Cold and distant. "We didn't know what your father had done. We never meant to hurt you. Please remember, we're still family." I read it once, then dropped it into a folder labeled Delusions. That same day, the day I was officially cleared, I uploaded a video. No dramatic lighting, no angry edits. Just me in my apartment, sitting in front of the camera, calmly holding up every receipt, every message, every legal document. I even included clips from the wedding, shots of the boxes, the shutdown, the stunned silence. Then I looked straight into the lens and said, they used my name. They spent my money. They erased my face. So I took all of it back. In just 2 weeks, the video had over 3.4 million views. Comments came pouring in. My family did this too. This is why I went no contact. Not all scars bleed. Some come with dollar signs. Soon I started hearing from journalists, podcasts, even financial advocacy groups. One group reached out and said, if you ever want to build something to help others, we'll sponsor it. So I did. I created a platform. Called it No More Tense, for people who've been treated like walking wallets and invisible helpers by their own families. Within a month, we had 15,000 people in our Discord server, a full forum, and 6 volunteer attorneys offering free legal help for victims of family financial abuse. My very first post was simple. You are not ungrateful for saying no. You are not selfish for wanting peace. You are not a villain for walking away. One night I was locking up the co-working space I'd rented for the platform when my phone buzzed. A number I recognized lit up the screen. I let it ring. Then another call. Then a text from my aunt. Your father's heart is weak. He collapsed yesterday. Your mom says he's asking for you. I just stared at the screen. Then I turned the phone off. Back at home, I poured myself a drink and opened the final file from the flash drive my uncle had sent. It was a photo, one I'd never seen before. Me, 12 years old, holding a certificate I'd completely forgotten about. Next to me, my father, grinning wide, a hand on my shoulder. Back then, I thought that moment meant something. But on the back of the photo, scrawled in familiar handwriting, were these words. Even then, he didn't know we were just using him. I tossed it into the fireplace, watched the edges curl and blacken. Then I opened my laptop, clicked New Post, and typed, my family taught me 2 things. 1, blood is leverage. 2, silence is loyalty. I don't owe them either anymore. 6 months. That's how long it's been since I closed the door on all of it. The wedding, the trial, the endless messages dressed up as concern, the guilt. 6 months since I finally hit mute on a lifetime of noise. I moved to a new state, a quiet town with big skies and no baggage. No one here knows my name. I shut down all my personal accounts. No more Instagram, no LinkedIn, no Facebook for my mom to tag me in when she needed attention. I kept my platform, my work, my mission. But me, I disappeared, and it was glorious. People don't realize how loud fake love sounds until you finally turn the volume all the way down. In the first month, I got emails from my aunt every single day. By the second, my brother started calling from different numbers, trying to get past the silence. In the third month, my mother left a voicemail. It started out as a sob and ended as a warning. You can't just disappear. We're your family, for heaven's sake. That word again, family, like it was a blood contract, like the pain I endured was just part of the deal. Like wearing a shared last name meant I had to keep swallowing poison with a smile for the sake of keeping up appearances. So I stayed silent. Not out of spite, not because I was angry, but because I wasn't anymore. I went entire days without thinking about them. Whole weekends passed where I couldn't even remember my brother's name. Then one random Tuesday, I passed by a bakery. In the window sat a pristine, 3-tiered white cake. Flawless, balanced, untouched. I stopped for a second, just looked at it, and then I smiled. That's all they ever wanted me to be. Present, useful, neat and pretty, not loved, just symmetrical. Last week, I sat alone at my favorite quiet cafe, the kind of place where no one asks what you're running from, sipping black coffee and flipping through Baldwin. My phone buzzed. I turned it over. 54 missed calls, 17 texts, 4 voicemails, all from numbers I used to know, some masked, some not. I didn't open a single one. I turned the phone face down on the table and took another sip. There was a time when every message made me shake, when I felt like I owed them something, a reply, a defense, anything. But that's what they never taught me. Silence is an answer. And often it's louder than any scream. They still don't know where I live. Still haven't figured out I changed my number. Still think the version of me they used to manipulate with guilt and praise and pressure is somewhere in here, waiting to be triggered. But he's gone. I didn't just burn bridges. I sank the entire shoreline. Before leaving the cafe, I grabbed a pen and scribbled a note on the back page of my book, a message to myself. They used to control my reactions. Now, they don't even get my silence. I tore out the page, slipped it under my coffee cup, stood up, and walked away without ever looking back.